my dad at first, he didn't believe in, me doing this. He wanted me to have a regular job, do regular stuff,
Yeah.
And I always kind of bucked against that.
You should try and create a relationship. Because if I were you, and no matter what he did, what he said, he's still living, he's your dad.
Yeah.
Try and get something out of it.
Yeah.
How we take care of our future, our children and our grandchildren, that's what we need to try and pass on, because that's what we have control over. And it's sad to say we might not ever get healed the way we really want.
We have a very special guest with us today. We got Paul. You are a filmmaker. You just made a film called The List.
Yes, sir.
Please tell us more about it.
Yes, sir. The film I created is called The List. This film is about a 30-year-old guy from Chicago who actually was raised by a single mom, and his mom was actually left by like a 19-year-old guy, and left basically to raise the kid on her own. And his name is Jerry. So what Jerry decided to do at a very young age was start to keep a list of all the things that he wished his father had taught him. And what he did, he actually had a kid himself at age in about his 30s. So he decided, and he started to see similarities in his kid that he had gone through. So he decided to figure out, okay, what's going on here, and I don't want to repeat this. So he decided to take off and go find his own dad, which he did find. He found his dad on his deathbed, and basically he decided, okay, I need to figure out why you left me, and why all these things on this list he needs to know about. So he decides that they go in this room, they go into the room, the hospital room, and they just go at it. They just go at it, and it's just him and his father going through this list. And of course his father really don't want to deal with it. He's dying from cancer, and he just thought he would get out scot-free, and not have to deal with this. In other words, it's done. There's nothing I could do to reverse it. It's already done. But Jerry, his son, decides, no, I need answers.
Wow. Wow.
I need answers before it's all said. Of course, he doesn't want him to die or anything, but before you leave this earth, you need to explain yourself so that I can understand why you left.
Wow. That's powerful, man. Before we get into the meaning of that, because there's a lot to ask about that, tell them who you are, how you started doing film, and why you're drawn to this.
Okay. Again, my name is Paul Sherman, and I've actually started out in doing music. I've been a musician for like 40, 30 years. I'm actually 66, and I'm just retired, so I'm getting to live my dream and do what I want to do at this point.
Awesome.
I've always been an artist. Whether it be music, books, film, that's just kind of who I've always been. It's taken many creative avenues, but it's always come out as being an artist. I got into film, God just led me to this film in particular. It was needed. It was something that most of the men and young men in my life and in my family, or they either lived this life, or they know somebody who did. And it doesn't always have to be where, your father's not in your life. Every guy has some sort of list.
Yeah.
Even if your father lives in the household with you, I've run into guys who they don't even know who their dad is. He doesn't know them either. So that's a whole nother list, but every man has their own list, and it's like an emotional wound that follows you for the rest of your life. It shapes who you are, shapes your decisions. It's really, really powerful. And again, this movie, you would think it's just a father and son story, so it's only going to affect men. That's not true. Right. It's even deeper than that. I'm noticing every day the more layers and layers and layers that of people that it affects, by people who watch it, and they come to me with a whole different twist on it. It also it's a story that affects women, in their choices in who their husband's going to be, who got the guy, because guys that have gone through this, somewhere in their psyche, it's it could be there. It can be an issue, and I'm hoping to put a lot of it out on the table so people can see, okay, this might be an issue for this guy, even if he doesn't know it.
Yeah.
Why he acts this way, and why it could be from your emotional wound that was there. And I didn't want to leave. I didn't want this film to be bash your dad. Let me back up. There's always one statement I always make when I first start to interview to let people know that I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
Here's the situation. I've been the son, and I've been, sad to say, the father.
Wow.
So I have, and it was difficult for me to write because of that, because it was easy because I've been the father and I've been the son, but it was hard because I had to go through the whole thing again emotionally. And I just, like I said, I thought this story needed, it was necessary. A lot of films, I feel personally, are not necessary. This film affects so many men. It has nothing to do with status, race. It's just, we all have things in our past that will dictate what we act like, how we act, what we do. And I didn't want to leave this thing in the dark, so the end of the movie has a positive twist. And I always look at every situation, especially if it's negative, I'm always looking for, where's the positive? How do we get to that? What do we do to leave this thing in a positive zone or whatever? I don't like leaving things, almost as I found them. So this is another reason why this story was necessary to be told. Why God chose me? I guess because I'm obedient, for one, and no matter how difficult and the challenge may be, I go into it knowing I'm going to get there because this is my assignment.
What's interesting, I actually had a list conversation with my dad before he passed. Not right when he passed. Thank God I was able to heal a lot of our problems well before he got sick. But I had a similar thing where it was like, doing Trackstarz. My dad at first, he didn't believe in me doing this. He wanted me to have a regular job, do regular stuff, and I always kind of bucked against that. And I remember telling him one day, I'm like, Dad, you never believed I could do well in Christian hip hop or in with Trackstarz and all that. You just wanted me to do all that stuff. So I ended up doing both. I did the regular job thing. I showed him I could do that. And then I also did this, and I showed him I'm capable of doing these things. And before, in that conversation, I remember after that conversation, it took a while to heal, but he started wearing Trackstarz shirts.
Wow.
You remember he used to wear the 1D shirt, my album shirt. He finally understood that this passion I had for God, he had it too, but in a totally different way. But he finally realized that he passed the best part of himself down to me. So
that's
great. It really resonated with me.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I even I always think back when we were on set shooting this. And it was predominantly all men, on set. We had to stop take after take. I mean, in between takes, everybody had a daddy-father story.
Right.
And it was just amazing because when I wrote this, I didn't know it was going to have that deep of an impact. God surprises you all the time what He's going to do with the work. He always has a plan that you don't even see.
Right.
Yeah.
That you won't even see. And just like I said, just having, and even if it doesn't affect you personally, if you didn't have to go through this, you might have had your dad or what have you, somebody. You have a cousin, you have an uncle, you have a brother, a half-brother, what have you. And we all have something like this going on. And I always think of, I know men, I guess that's another reason why God sent me this assignment. I'm a man. I know men better than I know anything. And I can assume a lot of women you're going to say, because I have 3 daughters, and they all going to say, I have 1 son, 3 daughters, and they're all going to say, well, what about the women? That's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story. And whether I'll be the person to bring it, to light, I don't know. You know, but I know women. That's a different challenge. I got a wife, and it's kind of sometimes I don't understand. So I'm kind of glad he didn't send me that assignment. But he sent me this one, and it was a challenge. It was moments that was really hard.
Wow.
You know, were really hard. And it's, like I said, this was my wife and myself. This is our first attempt.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of things that we come up against that I had never seen before. But like I always say, when you got God as your business partner, I just keep putting one foot, and He's always right there. Like, okay, I'm opening this door. I'm opening that door. You know, that's pretty much how I got here. Even. Yeah. You know, I didn't see it coming. I was hoping and praying, but. You know, and I just keep putting one foot in front of the other, even just with writing this thing. And after it was done, it took on a whole nother life. When these guys sat down and I actually started to hear and they put the feeling into the words, I didn't recognize my own work. But like I always say, that's not my work. That's God's work.
Do you think that, like, in the film it has some markers that the son was saying to the father, that's like some markers that did you think to put in, like, you know, talking about certain things that were like men situations, like it was a part talking about the Million Man March. It was a part like, did you consciously say, hey, I got to put certain things in here that people could be like, man, I related to that so much? I did.
Actually, like I said, I've never been to the Million Man March. Yeah. But I can only assume what it would have been like. Yeah. You know, and to go with it with your father. Yeah. That's huge, man. You know, my personal things, like, you know, he had things on like riding a bike, driving a car, you know, shaving. I mean, I had shaving. I mean, as just say a black man, we have a tough time with shaving because of our skin and our texture of our hair. You know, we have hair bumps and stuff. So throughout my entire 20s and 30s, I had a horrible time trying to shave. So luckily, I got a mentor or something, you know, later that showed me, hey, here's the steps, and it helped me. So, but that was something my dad should have been there to do, you know, and he wasn't. Like I said, driving a car, it shouldn't have took, you know, my aunt or somebody like that. Nothing wrong with that, but it's just a different experience when your dad taught you how to drive. Right. You know, riding a bike, your dad running behind you, and you barely can, you know, stay up on two wheels. He took your training wheels off. Those are major, man. Those are major. Yeah. And even men, you know, I don't think consciously that we realize that, but in our subconscious, you remember those things. You know, you falling down, you know, busting up your knee, and your dad picking you up, taking you home while you're trying to learn to ride. You just took your training wheels off. Those are major. Those are major things. And like I said, I'm not here to bash our dad because, you know, I don't know what they went through. Right. You know, they did. I'm sure, like me being a dad, we do the best we can do. You know, we do the best we can do. Are we going to be perfect at it? No. But we keep moving forward, keep trying to do the best we can do every day, doing what dads do. Wow. You know, so yeah, it's been a pretty deep experience. And every time I speak to someone else, like I said, they come with a whole something that I didn't even see that was in the movie. And did I do it purposely? You know, put that layer in there? Probably not, but you know, subconsciously maybe. You know, and then just talking to people while I was working on it, I was picking up things, you know, and that I didn't even think about.
Yeah, wow. I think one of the things that, you know, we all can say is probably everybody has a list. Exactly. Everybody has a list. I remember my father passed, you know, 30 days before my first child was born. Wow. And I think about it all the time, like, even though he was there for me as a parent, you know, raising me, there's still questions that I now have as a parent that I can't ask him. Yes. And it affects, I think, you know, just everything, you know, how the decisions that you make, the choices that you have to choose between when it comes to, you know, providing and being a caretaker. I know for me, I started off with 3 girls first, and then I got my boy. But for my girls, it was, you know, everything was a yes.
Yeah.
And it still kind of is, you know, to this day. It's hard for me to to tell them something and think about what that would do to them, you know, what the no means and what the, you know, I guess, you know, discipline, you know, what that discipline looks like for them, because I've had the situation where I always say, I'm taking something away, right? And I never let them live through that pain. You know, I'll say, because of what you did today, you're not going to get a treat the next time your sisters get one, right? And I never go through with that because I don't want them to live through that pain and that to be a trigger long term for them. Like I remember when my dad didn't give me such and such, and I had to sit back and watch my sisters get what they wanted, and I didn't get it. And I feel that way all the time, but I also feel like, man, did they learn the lesson? Because they just turned around and did it the wrong way, you know? So just kind of talking to them doesn't feel like it's enough. And so I feel like, you know, we all have lists that we would make for anyone, even friends that you no longer speak to, maybe from high school or college. There's a list of things you wanted to say that you should probably have said, you know, long time ago about friendship and about you know, the way you guys felt about one another. So there's list of everything. I think. Yeah, it is. Even in relationships, it is. Marriages, you know.
Yes, it definitely is. You know, I recently I have a younger cousin that he's just been through a lot of stuff, but I told him just this week, I said, you know, you're the strongest man I've ever seen in my life, because he's about 5 years younger than myself. And I told him, I said, I know your history. I know everything that you've gone through, and I see where you are today. Most people don't make it that far. Like, you know, they quit. And he's seen the movie. He saw a rough draft. He's never opened up at all, anything about, you know, other than the obvious stuff that I see. He opened up to me and started telling me his personal feelings and things that he's gone through. I had never ever heard in my life, and I've known this guy my entire life. And it was through this, watching this film, that cracked it open for him enough to say, okay, I feel secure enough to let you know this, you know. And I had another close friend of mine I've known over 30 years, or even 40, 50 years. To show another side of it, his dad was the guy in the neighborhood that always made sure all of us had you know, work, and he had his own construction company. He taught me my work ethic. He taught me how to get up in the morning, and he was my superhero, you know, in so many words. He and I sat in the car like last week, and he told me, my dad wasn't who you thought he was. Wow. And I said, wait. He said, no, man. And it was after watching this film. He started to tell me stuff that I never, but, you know, that was his biological dad, not mine. So he knew a lot more than I did. And most of the stuff, long story short, it had to do with his dad getting remarried, putting together a blended family, and it just didn't work the way it always should. But I was still surprised at some of the choices and some of the things that his dad had done that I didn't know about until he told me. So I'm just saying this film opens up guys, and guys are hard enough to crack when it comes to that. And I've talked to some guys, and even my own brother, he won't give me anything. And I told him, I said, just give me an interview, you know, nothing. He shuts down completely. Wow. He and I, we don't have the same father, and his father, as far as I know, is still living. And I said, you should try and create a relationship, because if I were you, and no matter what he did, what he said, he's still living. He's your dad. Try and get something out of it. He won't. And even watching this film didn't crack him. I'm not saying he's going to be here this weekend. Not saying that watching it on the big screen and he might come to me and say, hey, you're right, man. I just needed to see this to come around to it.
So what do you recommend for young men with lists, but they don't know their dad, or they didn't have a chance like I did to share their list with their father before they passed? What do you do with that?
Wow, that's a tough one, man. One thing is to talk about it, for sure. Try and find another. He would never take the place of your father. Try and find another mentor or older gentleman who's been through some stuff.
Yeah.
Because nobody want to talk to anybody, somebody that's never that's perfect.
Right.
You know, find another person that can also mentor you. You can't change the past. The only thing you can control is today, and not even the future exists. Today is what you have. That's what you control.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I live. I live in the now, in the present. So find someone that can help you get to that next spot. Will it ever heal everything? Probably not, but don't pass it on. That's the main thing I can tell a guy, because what was done to you, you don't want to pass it to the next generation. And if you can, even if you can catch the next guy and put him on the right path, then that's going to create the path for the guy, the next his grandchild after that and after that. So I'm not sure how you fix you and me personally. That's done already.
Yeah.
How we take care of our future, our children and our grandchildren, that's what we need to try and pass on, because that's what we have control over. And it's sad to say we might not ever get healed the way we really want to. I don't really have the answer for that. I just have the answer for the future.
Yeah.
You know, and which is what I'm hoping this film actually does. You know, it creates dialogue, and I'm hoping that this 10 years from now, 5 years from now, this won't be a hot topic that we continue to talk about.
Yeah.
You know, and that's my prayer, my wish out of the movie. I always like to put stuff in the universe that has a positive spin on things and that makes change.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to leave here leaving everything the way it was,
Right.
or worse. I want to leave here knowing that I made a difference, and the things that I did, they made a difference, and they're still here to continue to make a difference. This film will be around longer after I'm gone.
Yeah.
And I never know how God's going to use it. He might have a plan for this thing to be used 25 years from now, from a kid who's sitting in the basement wanting to do something to himself. I don't know how he's going to use it. I just put out into the world what he tells me to, and let him whether it be books, music, film, and let him, because you don't know how he's planning it, you know, and it might not be something that you're going to see right now today, because it might not be about you. What he had you do for him might not be about you right now.
Sure.
So that's another thing I think that I'd like to pass on to young people, to let them know it might not always be about just you right now. You know, how he's going to use it, you might not ever even see it, but he probably has a plan. If you did what he told you to do, he don't do anything just for nothing. He's got a plan for that, and it might not show itself for the next 20 years, you know. But do what you're supposed to do.
That's awesome. Jerry, can you put that link back up? I want everybody to go support this film.
Yeah.
I want to see it one day be a feature. Let's make it happen.
We're working on it.
Let's make it happen. Let's support this film. It's a very, very important topic. Please, please, please support. Paul, thank you for coming.
Yeah, man.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great stuff. Great stuff.
I appreciate it.
All right, let's get back into it. You in the field with the Trackstarz, Ryan Righteous, Sean Tanner, DJ Jeremiah. Let's go.